Hey guys, welcome to Pot Survival Guide. So today I'm going to be talking about my reconditioning process, kind of what the steps for that were, the different exercises that I tried out and the different stages of reconditioning, to hopefully give you an idea of what the reconditioning process looks like and how you might design your own reconditioning plan. So when I first started off, I had probably been on bed rest for couple months at least, maybe a little more than that. So I really wasn't able to do much. I was at the point where I was too weak to comb my own hair, so like my mom literally had to comb my hair for me. So I knew that I definitely had to start out really small. The first move that I did, I have a whole video on it. It's called the pillow squeeze. So you can go ahead and look that up if you want. I won't take too much time here to describe that. So from the pillow squeeze, I moved on to some other reconditioning exercises such as alphabet legs, leg lifts. I have videos on a lot of the ones that I used. So what I did was I tried to do as many reps as I could. I think I started off with literally like 2 reps at first. And I tried to do that 2 to 3 times a day for each of the moves, and I did as many reps as I could, and each day I tried to build on 1 rep. I also started trying to increase my walking abilities. So I was barely able to walk across a room when I started. I felt lightheaded every time I stood up, but I realized that if I stayed standing for a few seconds and I was just sort of still, then that lightheadedness would usually go away within 20-30 seconds. So once I made sure that I was safe to walk, I would try to walk across the room as many times as I could. I would go for short walks with my parents down to the end of my driveway and back. And I just gradually built up how long I was walking. I started very small. But I ended up within a few weeks being able to, take very short walks around the block. And within a few months, I was able to walk pretty much as long as I wanted to. So once I was able to tolerate a little more walking, I decided to try to add some light cardio into my routine. I guess walking was sort of my cardio at the time. But I tried to add on some cardio that I had done before I got POTS. So I started off by doing 5 minutes of a recumbent bike or an elliptical machine. And I remember this vivid experience where it was so hard for me to motivate myself to work out one day. But I finally dragged myself over to the elliptical machine, and I told myself I will do 5 minutes of this and then I'll stop and I can rest for the remainder of the day. So I went over and I did, my slow, laborious 5 minutes. And after 5 minutes, I felt so much better. I felt this surge of energy. And that day I ended up doing 30 minutes. And I'm not sure that I recommend that, but I felt so good, and I felt like my body was just telling me that this is what you need to be doing, keep it up. So that was a moment that really sold me on exercise, and since then I've always, at the beginning of my workout, told myself that I'll do 5 full minutes, maybe 10 full minutes, and if I don't feel better by the end of those 5 or 10 minutes, then I would stop. So once I started doing short periods on the exercise equipment, I also started doing short amounts of workout videos. I started out with Zumba. I had a DVD and I literally started the first 5 minutes and I would pause it, and then I would rest for 3 or 4 hours, and then I would go back and I would do 5 more minutes, pause it and rest for another few hours, and then go back and pause it. And some days I wouldn't make it through the whole 40-minute workout, and some days I would, just by pausing it and breaking it up. And I truly would just listen to my body and do as much as it could tolerate. And as soon as it started feeling a little off and feeling like it was no longer feeling better because of the exercise, I would immediately back off, and I might try again later. And often when I tried again later, it felt great. And very quickly after I started doing these 5-minute chunks of the exercise videos, I was able to build up a tolerance, and I want to say within a month I was doing the full videos. So for a while I was only able to do exercises where my head level remained in relatively the same position the whole time. So before I got sick, I was really into insanity videos, and a lot of the insanity videos and other similar CrossFit type videos, they have a lot of up and downs. So like burpees, where you're on the ground, you're in a push-up, and you jump back up. And those sorts of moves were just not possible for me at first. I got really lightheaded and it just wasn't good for my POTS. But eventually I did build up tolerance to those sorts of moves. So I tried to avoid workouts that had a lot of that, or I would just modify and, rather than doing a lot of like jumping up and down for a burpee, I would run in place, or I might just hold plank for the entire time, things like that. You just kind of have to figure out what works for your body at that given time. So I just did whatever exercise my body could tolerate every day. And every day I was getting stronger and stronger. My POT symptoms were improving. I was able to do longer amounts of exercise, harder workouts. And eventually I got to the point where I am today, where I'm now able to do any workout I want. Now, I definitely realize that my path isn't the path for everyone. It's a really personal thing. It's going to depend a lot on how deconditioned you are, how long you've been suffering from POTS or another chronic illness, how active you were before you came down with your POTS symptoms, just a lot of factors. So one piece of advice that I've heard that I didn't personally use, but that seems to have worked for a lot of people, is to start reintroducing exercises in a recumbent position or a lying down position with things like exercise bikes, swimming, anything where you are not standing up. A lot of people find that exercises in a vertical position are a lot harder to begin with. For me personally, walking was really the key to my reconditioning process. It really helped jumpstart everything, and I recommend that if you think that's safe for you, that you might want to try just adding some walking back into your life. But I realized that for some people that's not possible at first, so I would highly recommend finding a place where you can use a recumbent bike, or doing some exercises such as my lying down POTS video, or some Pilates workouts where you're on the floor the whole time, and just see what works for you, what feels safe and comfortable for your body, because it really is ultimately a personal journey, I guess, to becoming reconditioned. So figure out what your first step needs to be. Start really small, build up, be patient, be kind to yourself, and I wish you the best of luck.